What's going on, everyone? So, per Beyond the Mask. Now, I understand they're a credible person that has been in this space for a long time, but as always, take it as a grain of salt. Again, this is just a rumor. Nothing is confirmed. Things can always change. But the rumor is that Ghostface's motive is rumored to be very personal to Sidney. So, the motive is supposed to be very personal to Sidney Prescott. Here's the thing. With this upcoming Scream and us getting back to the ways of the Sidney Prescott. Again, said it before, I'm all for it. I'm okay with going back to... Now, I am one of the people that are in the camp of, I believe we should move off of Sidney Prescott. I think we should move away from Sidney Prescott at some point. But I'm okay with the situation at hand, and I understand, like, hey, this is the safest route. Right? You lost Jenna, you lost Melissa, you don't really want to gamble, so bring Sidney back, bring Gail back, Courtney and Nev can handle it going forward, right? A lot of talks, a lot of reports that, hey, they're not going to really build other characters, that they kind of want to use this as a way to launch a trilogy centered around Sidney and Gail. Personally, I'm not super thrilled about that. If that it turns out to be true, just because, again, I'm not saying you can't have Sidney and Gail be in the upcoming trilogy or the new trilogy, but you need to have other characters. You need to have other, representations for audiences, right? Now, look at the classic 96. There was characters for everybody to love, right? Randy and Stu and Tatum and all these characters. I mean, to this day, people still love these characters. People still buy into these characters, want these characters back, whether it's a Stu or, Tatum having a twin or whatever. Like, it shows how good of development they did in 96 and how good the characters and actors and actresses were. That's what I'd like to see with this upcoming Scream film and going forward. Give us other characters. Give us characters that we can, buy into and believe into, right? Like Sidney and Gail are Sidney and Gail. We're always going to love Sidney and Gail. But how much more can you continue to develop their characters, especially when the previous Scream films have been very lackluster and just telling a convincing story with Gail and Sidney and developing their characters further. Now Kevin Williamson's back, so maybe that will kind of right the ship a little better. I hope so, fingers crossed. But as far as the motive being personal with Sidney Prescott, I know some people are probably going to like that. I don't. And the reason why is, again, how many brothers, cousins, nephews, uncles want Sidney dead, right? Now, are there other ways for it to be personal? Sure. But what would be personal, so personal that it's not somebody close, right? Like, I don't want it to be one of her kids or, her cousin or aunt or something like, I don't want it to be Mark Kincaid, right? It's like, why now? All this time, right? Like, you're talking about what? Because she wasn't the main target in Scream 5. She inserted herself. She wasn't even in Scream 6. You could go back to Scream 4, but like I've said, Sidney wasn't like the main target. She was just casualty per the plan, right? And the plan still executed without Sidney dying. Now, Jill didn't know that, but the plan still worked. The plan worked perfectly for Jill. She actually saw her plan through. She just wasn't able to witness the end result, right? But why, after all this time, is some random person coming after Sidney, right? And like, you could have it be personal. Well, what is personal? If it's another relative or somebody close to Sidney, it's just like, one, how many times is Sidney going to keep making the same mistake? And two, how many people close to Sidney want to see her end? It's just, at some point, it gets a little silly. At some point, it gets a little redundant. Where it's like, can we be a little more creative here? Right? Like, you can have something to where, like, I would rather it not be personal, and it's just a Ghostface just wants to kill Sidney because it's Sidney Prescott, right? Like, now, if it's personal in the sense of, like, Ghostface is going after her daughter because of Sidney, so it becomes personal, then yeah, I would love something, like, I'm all for something like that. But, again, based on the report, or based on the rumors, correction, not reports, because we don't know anything right now. We don't really actually have reports, just rumors. Based on the rumors that are going around, Sidney's children are not even really supposed to be in it. And they're probably not even going to be teenagers. So that doesn't make any sense, right? So, again, like, how do you connect all this time in between somebody finally going after Sidney? Now, you could do something to where it was like, this person's always had the plan, but they were never able to find Sidney, right? Like, one of the things that I've talked about is, what if Sidney's going under another name, right? Why hasn't anybody gone after her? Why has she been safe for the last, 20 years or whatever, right? Well, maybe she's not going by Sidney Prescott. I mean, you see her literally running on a pier, like, out in the open with her kid, just living her best life, right? That was a woman that wasn't living in fear. That was a woman that knows, like, nothing's happened in 20 years. Like, eventually you got to get over it, right? Like, so my thought process is, what if she's going by a different moniker, right? Like in Scream 3, she was going by Laura. Well, she's married to Mark Kincaid. Don't you think Mark Kincaid would be able to help her get a new identity, get, different background, get everything right? And she can kind of just live freely and enjoy her life. She's probably rich between movies and book tours and all this other stuff. So she's probably got plenty of money. She's living her best life. She's doing her thing, right? Got her family, got her kids. Dewey in Scream 5 obviously calls her Sid and talks to her as Sidney. But Dewey did the same thing in Scream 3, right? Exact same thing in Scream 3. Even when she was going by Laura, he's still leaving voicemails and stuff, calling her Sid and Sidney, like, we need to talk to you and stuff. So maybe she's going by that. Maybe it's Gail or Kirby, who's an FBI agent. Gail probably has Dewey stuff, so maybe Dewey has some information on Gail. Because if anyone would, it would be Dewey. And, maybe Ghostface attacks, and that's how they're able to find Sidney. And now you have this easy connection to where it's like, okay, Sidney's real identity gets out, and then maybe that's why it took all this time. But it's just, again, I feel like there's just so much more straightforward, simple ways to go after Sidney, right? I'd rather it just be, again, just like, she's the white whale, right? Like, she's the one that every Ghostface wants to kill. And you have I'd rather even just have these young killers that just want to earn their stripes. And they believe the best way to do that is take out Sidney Prescott. I think that would be fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, why do we have to keep rehashing and going back and, doing the same thing over and over again? There's so many different ways. I mean, from the million theories and ideas and fun conversations that I come up with to the millions of fun, thoughtful, just ideas that all of you come up with. I mean, I see the comments, I read the comments, right? Like, I see people all the time that are coming up with really cool, creative ways to, tell the Scream story, or what should happen with Sidney, or what Ghostface motive. Like, if you can do it, if I can do it, why can't Hollywood writers seem to do it? I mean, Scream 5 was Scream 96, just in a new skin, right? They just reskinned it and called it the same thing. Scream 6, yes, had some originality, but it was still boiled down to the same thing as Scream 2 in a lot of ways, right? Like, same motive, same everything. Can we just, like, go a different direction? It's okay to, if you're going to have Sidney, that's fine. But can we advance her character? Can we grow her character? Can we tell a story? Now, look, good writing, good execution, all can make anything work, right? So, of course, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but to sit here and pretend like it's not a concern, it's just, I don't know how you can't come to that conclusion based on what we've seen from Scream 5 and 6. Scream 5 and 6 haven't been this like super well written, super original, script. But yet there doesn't seem to be this incentive for them to kind of be original and go back. And it's just like, again, if I wanted to watch Scream 96, I would have watched Scream 96. I didn't need Scream 5 to do that, right? Like, if I wanted to watch Scream 2, I could have just watched Scream 2. I didn't need Scream 6 to do that, right? If I want to watch, Scream 3 and Sidney has another brother, it's like, I don't need that. I want something new. If you're going to incorporate Sidney, if you're going to incorporate Gail, that's great. Okay, I'm on for it. Let's do it. But can we tell a new story? If we're just going to tell the same story all over again, then what's the point? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you somewhere in between and kind of in the middle of it all? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.